Hey, you're in the cast of Wandavision. Do you have any spoilers for the season finale? Here's one. You trying to get me fired? You know how expensive it is to live in LA? If you look at a Whole Foods, it costs $28. You're gonna pay for my plastic surgery, huh? I got an ass job, and it looks tremendous.
Hello everyone, welcome to 2FAST2MOVIE. I'm your host Kenny, and as always with my co-host Jose Quintana. Yeah, we're almost there. Home stretch. God, I really don't know how to feel because this is a really good episode in my opinion. Basically what I predicted last week, again, a flashback episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jose, opening thoughts.
Like you said, it's a flashback episode. It definitely answers a good amount of questions, like of what we've been talking about, which we'll get to in just a second. Mm-hmm. But I really like the detail we went into Agatha's small little backstory, mm-hmm. and going through Wanda's history was kind of bittersweet, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a big field trip.
Yeah, it was. This episode was pretty much what I was expecting, but also giving me more. So I really liked that, we didn't delve too much in reveals and whatever. It's just exploring Wanda. So yeah, before we begin, as always, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. We upload new videos every week, and our friends Abe and Ben are covering Attack on Titans on their segment of 2FAST2MOVIE, so please be sure to check that out after you watch this. And as always, spoilers ahead. So, this show has always been very character driven, but I think we actually get to hunker down and just explore Wanda. So in this episode, we sort of get a glimpse into Agatha's origins as a witch. It was theorized before, it wasn't by me, but someone mentioned a date that Agnes came to town, and that happened to be the same date of the Salem witch trials. So this episode definitely paid that off. And so, yeah, we sort of, get a little glimpse of what she's capable of through her magic, and, that she was part of a coven, and that she practiced dark magic, and she was punished for it, but in the end, she did the Know You Uno card and took her coven's powers, including her mother's. And in present day, through Agatha's manipulation, we sort of get to explore Wanda's grief through flashbacks of her own childhood, and we see the exact moment where her powers came to fruition, and what the origins of her powers were exactly. And we find out the reason for her sitcom fantasy in The Hex, because of her love of sitcoms as a child. And the moments where she watched sitcoms were when she was the most vulnerable in her life. And that really ties into, this whole show, WandaVision. And later in the episode, we figure out that Wanda never really stole Vision's body. She just created him. And that I honestly didn't expect that. So she's just way more powerful than any of us, including Wanda herself, give her credit for. So, yeah, and in the end, holding Billy and Tommy hostage, Agatha tells Wanda that she is a rare kind of witch, and she is an entity known as the Scarlet Witch. And, roll credits, because, oh my god. Yeah, and in the post-credit scene, we also see that Hayward and Sword made another version of Vision from the parts that they had, and they used Wanda's powers to sort of, boot him up. So we have an anti-Vision, reference to the comics there. So yeah, Jose. Though, like, this episode, I wouldn't say, like, moves. I mean, it definitely, like, moves the plot forward just a little bit, but it didn't push it, like, like the past few episodes where, like, we had revelations, plot twists, and stuff like that. What were your expectations going into this episode? What did you want to see before you press play?
Well, what I wanted to see was, I didn't really have anything in mind, to be honest, at first. After paying very close attention to after Agatha's backstory and going to see through Wanda's history of basically not just becoming the witch, but also how she started the Westview anomaly, the hex. That I think that's what I really wanted to see mostly, the very extent of her powers, and by near the end of it, we get probably the most amazing scene, I think, of probably of the show so far.
Yeah. Oh, which scene is that?
The whole I was about to call it radiation.
I mean, it is radiation, but yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah. Her power just going complete, nuking up the whole town, extending all the way to the pretty much the edge of the town, and then seeing the vision being recreated.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, yeah, I'd say I would agree with you there. That's, like, I just one of the most, like, emotional scenes too. Just seeing her, like, just empty, and she pretty much lost everything. And so one of my things after we talked last week was that is, like, Wanda solely responsible for this hex? And, like, we sort of theorized, like, maybe Agatha had a part to it. And then I started thinking, like, okay, if Agatha had a play in it, I think it would really take away from this whole exploration of Wanda's trauma. And I felt that if she was, like, manipulated into creating this, and it wasn't something of her own doing, I think it would really take away the whole weight of Wanda's character and exploring her trauma. And I was so relieved to see that this was, like, all of Wanda's doing, and that Agatha's just crashing the party. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what if, like, Agatha had a part to play into creating this? Would you feel any different about the show?
I think I would feel definitely a little bit different. It's hard to pinpoint what would be different for me, at least. But if knowing that Wanda was the true cause of it, and, like, because, like, Agatha points out that everybody in her life is gone, and she just wants at least someone or something to help relieve her trauma, or at least take it away from her for the time being. It's definitely relieving, though, that Wanda, even though it was out of complete turmoil, that she created basically a new life for herself, and that is what in turn makes her, well, happy again.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things when, like, she was driving into Westview, and then, like, she had that envelope in her car. I was like, what is that? Like, is she meeting someone here? But then she opens it. It's a deed to that plot of land, and it was, it's Vision's dream to grow old with her there. And when I saw that, I was just like, oh god, that's just so sad.
Right in the feels. Yep.
Yeah, right in the feels. And yeah, I was really satisfied with what we were able to explore and see. Like, actually see how it's affecting her. Because, like, we saw what happened to her, but we never saw her process it through the movies, and this show definitely gives that time to breathe. It's just sort of that space in between of the movies, and, like, the aftermath of it. I want to talk about some of the flashbacks specifically the Hydra experimentation scene. So we know that the Mind Stone gave Wanda and her brother their powers, and we got to see her interact with the stone, and in that moment where she saw a glimpse of someone. Did you catch who or what that was?
I did not.
So there was a figure that appeared in the Mind Stone when it
When it
expanded.
shattered?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And if you didn't catch it, that figure is the Scarlet Witch. The silhouette of it is pretty much her comic book counterpart, with the headpiece and stuff. If you go back to it and you hit pause at the right moment, that's her. And I think that's what Agatha was. Well, that's definitely what Agatha was referring to when she was like, "You're a rare species of witch, and you're the Scarlet Witch," and that was the Scarlet Witch. What are your thoughts on that? Did you catch on to that when you watched it the first time?
I did not. I had trouble still trying to figure out what Agatha's purpose was, but I guess it's to take Wanda's power, and now knowing that she is the Scarlet Witch, that she wants to gain that power for herself, like typical baddie.
Yeah, because in the beginning we saw her, take the powers of her fellow sisters and mother, and yeah, she's power hungry, and she wants to know. So the whole time she's crashing the party, she's messing things up in town, because she wants to know. She wants to know how Wanda was able to do this, and I think she's jealous. Well, she's absolutely jealous, because Agatha, being hundreds and hundreds of years old, she had to train. That's what that scene in the beginning was in the basement. Her just showing off her powers and explaining sort of the magic system to Wanda and to us, the audience. That even the most basic illusion spells take years to master. And here, Wanda, who has no idea that she's a witch, she just knows that she thinks that it's just powers from the Infinity Stone. Can just conjure this whole hex up, and I think she's very, very jealous of that. And and also the Infinity Stone made her so much more powerful than the average witch. She sort of becomes a Nexus being, and that sort of relates to the comics, sort of being a person that can access the multiverse, kind of. What are your thoughts on that, about Wanda being a Nexus being?
It definitely makes the most sense. I think, beside not just from this show, but through the MCU history, we get a glimpse of Wanda's true power and just how much power she can conjure or create. And to be someone as powerful as a Nexus being, it's pretty powerful, to be blunt about it. It's we only know a few Nexus beings that are that exist in the Marvel history, and one we can probably talk about a little bit later of upcoming MCU movies, but it's definitely pretty intriguing to know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the thing with Wanda being able to conjure up this hex, the reason why is it's a big thing, because the thing with magic, as I quote Rumpelstiltskin from Once Upon a Time, magic always comes with a price. Yeah, you can't just make something out of nothing. And Wanda changed the whole town, but she conjured up Vision. And I believe that because the Mind Stone is what kept Vision alive and active. I believe that you know Wanda's connection to the Mind Stone is what created Vision, this version of Vision. And yeah, I was really surprised. I really thought I guess like, excuse me, I thought that that we actually saw footage of her stealing Vision's body, but looking back, it was just her breaking into the facility, but we never actually saw her take the thing. And yeah, I was really surprised by that. And I guess like my question to you is that, do you think Vision is gonna live after all this is done? Like, will Vision still be around, do you think?
I gotta be honest. I have my doubts that Vision will survive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not looking likely, to be blunt again. But with what we saw of the anti-Vision, the white Vision in the post-credit scene, that might take a toll for the Hex Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they'll probably have at least some kind of battle or something. There's going to be a battle in the last episode. We know that much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely down for a Vision versus anti-Vision fight scene. And yeah. I'm also with you. Like, yeah, it's probably not likely, but also at the same time, don't you think it would be kind of overkill? Because Vision technically has died twice already.
Yeah. Same movie too.
Yeah, so it's like a third time. I don't know. Because like Wanda's suffered so much already, and if Vision's gonna die, that means her kids are gonna go away, and it's just like, is Wanda just never going to get a happy ending? Is that it? That's kind of that's a huge bummer. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with Anti-Vision, yeah, admittedly, I don't know much about Anti-Vision from the comics. I just know that he's a character from West Coast Avengers, and that correct me if I'm wrong, comic book nerds who are watching this, that he comes from a different Earth, from the multiverse, and he sort of enters. I'm not saying like this Anti-Vision is that. I think it's just sort of a reference, like a nudge to the multiverse, So, Jose, what do you think they're going to do with this Vision? Do you think this Vision is like Terminator Vision, that like his personality is just not there, and that it's just killer robot, or is this going to be like some weird ghost zombie Vision? Do you think?
Yeah, you're pretty spot on with the Terminator Vision. Like, it definitely doesn't look like he has any emotion. Looks like he's just built to destroy, built to accomplish what Hayward wants to accomplish. Mm-hmm. That I believe he'll infiltrate the Hex. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. I believe he'll infiltrate the Hex and probably meet with Wanda, but he'll be sort of incognito. Maybe he'll look like Hex Vision. And Wanda will think it's him, and then suddenly she'll be like, "You're not Vision," and then, yeah.
Oh, so sort of a chameleon type thing. Got it. Yeah, I mean that's possible. Or you just. So, from what I can understand, like Hayward is trying to take this Hex down. So I guess like, instead of the whole. As cool as it would be to see like, oh hey look, I'm totally Vision. I think Hayward's just gonna be like, all right, just put Vision in there and just kill her, basically. I think that's what they're going for. And yeah, at first, like in the beginning of the show, as things were getting good and just like things were snowballing, I was sort of I was afraid that the show wouldn't be able to stick the landing towards the end. But after this episode, I'm really excited. I'm like I have more faith in the showrunners, because it's clear that they know what they're doing. And I think it's less and less likely that Mephisto is happening.
Yeah,
Would you agree on that?
I definitely agree. Like, there's been thoughts about him from the fans, but I don't know if we've ever had any actual clues in the show in any way. Like, I made a joke last time about Ralph being Mephisto, but it seems like that really was just a throwaway gag at this point.
I guess. Who knows? Maybe Ralph will show up and it's actually Mephisto. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's there's still time to set up like the multiverse and stuff like that. And I kind of want to say that maybe Doctor Strange will show up, but also it feels a little too late to do that. And I personally like. Okay, like before I go into my thoughts, would you want Doctor Strange to appear in the next episode?
I would like to see it, but I think I agree with you that it's kind of a little bit either late for him to show up or also just kind of not really possible. Real quick to kind of poke your brain a little bit. In Far From Home, I think the Fury tells Spider-Man that Doctor Strange is in between dimensions or off-world or something like that. He says off-world to somebody.
Off-world is Captain Marvel.
Okay, Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't. He didn't really say where Doctor Strange was, because I know that's one of the heroes Peter mentions to him when fighting the elementals and stuff. But I don't know what exactly he said. I don't remember, at least.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Timeline wise, this show takes place before Far From Home, so it's possible,
Yeah.
that that I'm sure WandaVision is definitely setting up like to expand the multiverse and stuff like that. And I think okay, if Doctor Strange does show up, I'm betting it's like an after credits scene. I think that for this to wrap up, it needs to be Wanda and Vision doing their thing. Because I feel like if Doctor Strange just steps in, just like, oh, let me fix everything for you, it feels Deus Ex Machina, So I guess like for me, I kind of want Doctor Strange to not show up, but if he has to, at least an after credits scene, just to set up his movie and because Wanda is also supposed to appear in, Multiverse of Madness, and yeah, if they had to set that up, that's how I would want it there. But with magic, I kind of want to talk about mutants because Agatha flashing back with Wanda to her youth and the night that her parents died and she and Pietro survived somehow. Agatha is insinuating that Wanda has always had her abilities, even when she was young. And the Mind Stone, with Hydra, jump-started her powers. Just sort of, it gave her stronger magical abilities. And I'm thinking that that this is key to introducing mutants. Because with the snap, that's the Infinity Stones, snapping certain people away, and then now that they're back, I'm betting that this is my theory that that the stones can activate the X gene within them, with Monica when she was able to step through that field. I think she's always had that gene with her all along, and now the magic radiation from the Infinity Stones just sort of jumpstarts that. Because the Mind Stone jumpstarted Wanda's powers, but also gave Pietro his abilities. So, and it's clear that Pietro wasn't magical. So, mutants. What do you think?
That definitely seems likely, and I think for any other mutant fans out there, I think they will like that possibility a lot. Because mutants are expected to be in the MCU within the time being, of course. And the Scarlet Witch being one of the most one of mutants, at least in the MCU currently.
Mm-hmm.
That makes total sense for her being a mutant the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And the mention of the Infinity Stones giving her power was probably just a sideline until they reveal that she is a mutant.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's just sort of my theory with mutants, because now we've like moved past the Infinity Stones, and like, you know, they should stay within like, you know, the Infinity Saga, but like, you know, now we got to deal with the aftermath of what happened. So I'm guessing this would be a good way to tie that all together, you know.
Yeah.
And still that mystery character that we have to wait till next week to find out what that is. My money's on Magneto. My money's on Magneto. Because that would just be really cool. Like, you know, because we talked about Wanda's parents, right? And in the comics, they were her adopted parents, right? And what if Magneto just shows up? What do you think?
That would really be cool. And like, it would also tie in a little bit with kind of the Fox X-Men, because Quicksilver mentions that Magneto is his father. So
yeah, definitely. And of course, like, you know, Pietro or Fietro, fake Pietro. Yeah, they casted Evan Peters, so they have to know what they were doing, and not just like, oh, well, just cast this guy. Like, they have to know that, you know, people are paying attention. He can't just be a one-off and just like, oh yeah, we're not going to talk about that again. Do you think we're going to have answers for that next week?
I definitely hope so.
Yeah. God, yeah. This episode was a lot, and I really enjoyed it. It definitely gets a yay from me. What about you?
Oh yeah, this is definitely a yay. I really do enjoy like going through the history of a character, especially like what looks like time travel when it's exploring memories.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing young Wanda and Pietro was just kind of adorable. The moment was extremely sad, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a nice little nod to her history.
Yeah, and shout out to Elizabeth Olsen. Like, her performance was incredible, especially in this episode. Like, throughout the show, she's, you know, her acting is just fantastic, and in this episode, she really pulls off grief really well. And like, I could really, you know, empathize with her and just feel her pain in this episode. And yeah, you know, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, they really are great performers, and like, this show definitely shows them stretching those muscles, and just like coming away from the show, there's just a lot more interesting characters, you know, than they were in the Avengers. And I'm just really excited to see how it all ends, and I'm really hoping that we get more shows like this, that and we get to see them in other things, and just give them the same amount of space to explore these characters, you know.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely explore a lot more with Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly with Loki.
Yeah, I'm really excited for those two shows. I'm really excited for because Falcon and Winter Soldier just looks like a buddy cop type thing. But yeah, I think we can definitely end it here. Yeah, next week is the final episode of WandaVision. We made it.
We made it.
We're almost there. We're almost there. So I cannot wait to just dig into every bit of the next episode. So yeah, until then, thank you guys as always for tuning in. You can find us in most places you find podcasts, like Spotify and Amazon Music. Our friends are still covering the MCU movies on Return of the Movie, so please be sure to check that out. So yeah, thank you for listening, and as always, it's 2FAST2MOVIE.